anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, BJ Edwards.
Yeah, and I'm fired up. I am fired up. Sound like Coach. Don't start yelling at you this morning.
What's got you fired up?
That's not what I do. Go ahead and hit that video. I'm listening to Fox News this morning. Okay, I'm listening to Fox News this morning, and they're talking about Murdoch. They're not talking about the J6 folks. Illegal trespassers. Oh, I'm sorry. They're calling them aliens. Racism. Student loans. Over and over and over again. Hit that video, Mr. Anderson.
I notice a pattern, though. The FBI field office in Richmond on the 23rd of January of this year issued a memorandum in which they advocated for, and I quote, the exploration of new avenues for tripwire and source development against traditionalist Catholics, their language, including those who favor the Latin Mass.
Hearing barking dogs, and that's all we're going to hear for the next 2 years until we get enough Republicans elected. That's going to make all the difference in the world. Just get them Republicans elected. The same Republicans that, look, I don't know the men. I don't know the women.
Oh, like that senator from New York?
Yeah. But I see the result. Go ahead.
Great Republican, right?
Yes, absolutely.
George Santos.
Yeah, we talked about him. Folks, it's up to you and I to do something. Do not think that your congressman or your senator, your federal congressman, or your federal senator are going to do anything for you.
State.
Don't even depend on them. Like, you can't see them face. If you can see your representative face to face, them's the one you want to talk to. Okay. They have to pay attention to you. I got an email from my federal representative, and he's talking about Murdoch, illegal trespassers, racism. No, he's not talking about any of that. He's talking about, he's concerned. There's a lot of rural areas where we are. So he's talking about wireless technology growth and how he's going to bring more of this more of communications into your home.
So they can spy on me?
Yep. And he wanted to let me and his constituents know that he's working so hard on this. So, as is my want, I send him an email back. What, Mr. Representative, and I use that term loosely, are you doing to assist those J6 victims? And I'm talking about the Patriot prisoners who are still locked up, many in solitary confinement without a fair trial, and their family casualties. What are you doing about them? They're mostly children, by the way, wives who are left to fend for themselves. All the money they're spending in New York on trespassers, illegal aliens. Is that what you do when somebody, I'm digressing here. Is that what you do when somebody breaks into your home? Yeah, just sit right there. What do you want? I'll tell you what, I'll order pizza for you. I'll go out and get it. Is there anything else you'd like? Oh yeah. Okay. Some beer. Sure. I'll get you some beer. And your leg hurts you. Look, I'll bring a doctor back with me. We'll take care of you. Is that how you treat trespassers? Really? And they're doing to illegal aliens what our school systems are doing to our children, and they're creating a dependency. Without the daddy government, you can't do anything without us. Okay, back to my email. This, while our justice systems has seemingly ground to a halt, while our country sends billions of dollars to totalitarian regimes that persecute Christians. Or what about, Mr. Representative, the children in our schools who are being controlled by the teachers union and being lied to about their gender or life in general? And what about our national debt, which keeps climbing as a result of our insane support of totalitarian governments, Ukraine, and imaginary environmental and racist claims? You see the article in Springfield. And what about these Christians who are being bullied and harassed by our government? And well, you get the idea, sir. Spectrum Wireless Communications is safe and tidy and non-controversial, but it is not the number one problem in America. I think not, sir. But then again, as is your habit, the easy ones first, right? You want to do anything controversial because that may cost you a vote. May God have mercy on your soul, young man. It's time for you to stop flying under the radar. That's what I sent to my congressman. I also invited him to the show. I have a radio show on Saturday mornings. Just email me back, call me back. Here's the number, and we'll get you on. We've got somebody who has a J6 relation, and you can explain yourself and clarify any misunderstandings or misgivings that you're currently doing about the aforementioned difficulties. In his name, B.J. Edwards. I also happened to send this to about 200 of his constituents, but that's another story. I did not hear back from him by phone, but I did get an email from him. As chance would have it, from my representative, I'm attending a men's prayer meeting Saturday morning, so I'll be unable to take advantage of your gracious offer. That being said, I did check with a few of my staff and have managed to schedule a tentative appointment with a very interested department here in Washington. They are looking very much forward to taking your statement. I have forwarded this information to that department, but can't give you the individual's name that will be in direct contact with you at this time. It seems that the department is in the process of hiring several thousand new employees, which is causing scheduling difficulties, as you might imagine. If you need more detail, I have included the general number of the IRS department, and all you need to do is give your name and address. They apparently have all the pertinent information, date of birth, social security number, etc. I hope this helps. Kind regards, your representative. And no, he didn't send that back, but am I looking at an audit? Maybe. Mrs. BJ is listening, so I'm in trouble already. Saturday mornings, folks. Every Saturday morning, Christian Talk Radio with a sting.
Since 2015.
Where you can see the difference. Do radio. We've got a couple great guests on this morning. They're doers. They're not nationally known, folks. They're just doing at the local level, aren't they?
That's what makes us special.
Yep.
We get people that are in the trenches.
Amen. How'd you know that?
I work here.
You pay attention.
Sometimes I'm awake.
I don't want to ask too much of you, Mr. Anderson. How's your week, by the way? What you been up to?
Oh, well, I went to Cedarville on Wednesday.
Did you really?
I did.
You dog. You didn't say a word to me about that.
I was
Talk to me.
I was saving it for a show.
Talk to me.
There wasn't much happening there. Well, Wednesday was a beautiful day, so it was a drive. My wife and I wanted to go for a drive, get out in the weather, and we went down to Cedarville, curious about the revivals that are happening. So I thought, well, we'll drive down there and visit the campus. Not much happening. Talked to a business professor there, and he didn't seem very excited about it. Shared a little bit. Said it lasted for a couple of days, the revival, which apparently is still going on with the Asbury.
Yeah.
But I guess they're moving it out into other churches and other schools.
I don't know about this, what's going on at Asbury or Cedarville or all these other colleges. I don't know exactly what's going on. But I do know that we're talking a lot about the Bible, and we're talking a lot about Jesus.
And salvation.
And there's some people's curiosity. It's going to be risen. I remember Jed Smock was on our university campus. He's passed away, by the way. And I remember looking at him and going, man, he's crazy. He's crazy. I mean, he's just absolutely crazy. Man's nuts. All right. And then as I started growing, I'm starting to go, I don't know. Maybe I ought to look into this. So he put a strong emphasis in my life, that I later on got a curiosity about, and thanks to him and several other faithfuls, it just, to me, it's turned out great. So I really don't know. I can, one of the things we do as Christians is we like to complain, and we can see problems. We can see problems, but we haven't, to me, it's maturity to set back and go, okay, I don't know exactly what this means. It doesn't feel comfortable to me, Jed Smock, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see. And I'm even going to pat them on the back and encourage them in one way or the other, however I can. And that's kind of the philosophy I try to take. Because, by the way, Mr. Anderson's aware of this. I have a doctorate in negativity. I list that as behind every rainbow, there is a cloud. Is there not? Is that not the truth?
There's a cloud there.
Yep. Behind every rainbow. Just absolutely incredible. So anyway, we've got a couple great guests this morning. I digress. I'm sorry. Did you get a chance to finish your religious experience at Cedarville?
Well, Cedarville, I just appreciated the campus and the kind of students that are there. They do submit a statement of faith when they apply.
What?
Yeah. Students submit a, so I found this out from the professor.
To white racism? Is that what they commit to?
You could maybe fear that there. But also the question was, and we both were kind of scratching our head over this one, when they submit a statement of faith and then they go to an event like we heard about and they get saved.
Yeah.
That's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Because you're assuming that's how they're coming in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good. Nice student body, nice campus, beautiful day. Loved the time with my wife. And another big adventure, we went to see the Jesus Revolution movie, which has been all the rage lately. I don't know if you've heard all the hype.
I have. I've heard reviews on it both ends. And
there's both ends to talk about. There's a lot there. There's a lot to wonder about. There's a lot of concern, about how they portrayed Christianity.
But we have to focus on what we liked about it, don't we, Mr. Anderson? Otherwise, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I'm arguing against myself, right?
Well, you get my wife on, you'll hear a different story.
Yeah, I know. I do. I've talked to your wife before. Anyway, love you, Leanne. Love you. I want to get to our guest, and we're going to do that shortly. Marie Goodwin is the guest for our first hour, and Aiden Haggard is the guest for our second hour. Great folks that just said, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to start creating some heat that needs to be created. Marie is a mama bear who's all in with her son's efforts, took a problem and turned it into a force to be reckoned with. If you would, Mr. Anderson, let's go to break. And when we come back, we're going to introduce our first guest, Marie Godwin. BJ.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
We are back. Mark, we see you. You look good. Maria will be with you in just a second. I have an article I want to read, a quick article, which I found very curious and really related to what we're talking about this morning. The title of the article is Judge Erupts at January 6th Defendant Who Refused, and this is 7/30/21, who refused to wear a mask, saying, "You don't make the rules." A federal judge on Friday, again, this is 7/30/2021, told off a Capitol riot defender. Words mean things, folks, don't they? Who refused to wear a mask, saying, You don't make the rules. To defendant Daniel Goodwin, who pleaded not guilty in April to 5 charges in connection with the January 6th riot. Prosecutors were trying to revoke Goodwin's pretrial release over his behavior to include what they considered to be a flouting orders to wear a mask, not acknowledging that Goodwin has autism, which makes it harder for him to wear masks, because in his words, it stresses me out. I'm going to digress here a little bit. I went to the doctor, and the first time they made me wear a mask. That's when I wasn't woke. And it raised my blood pressure 30 points. 30 points. The doctor just shook his head and goes, I don't understand this. He left the room. I took my mask off, and he came back in, and it was 30 points lower. And he's scratching his head and said, I don't understand this. I said, well, Doc, I took the mask off. Anyway, the defendant said, not wearing a mask would not cause anyone to die. Instead of locking up, the judge decided to order Goodwin to wear a mask whenever he meets with pretrial judges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't have to put the lives at risk. They don't have to yada, yada, yada. Goodwin replied, I understand. I'm not going to that, sir. He added that Texas doesn't require masks. To what the judge fired back, I don't care what the law in Texas is. You don't make the rules. You will be arrested. When Goodwin was arrested at his parents' home in Texas, the FBI learned that at least one person in the home believed they had COVID. Well, duh. 2021, didn't everybody have COVID? Except for, anyway. When agents placed the mask on his face, Goodwin attempted to chew through the mask and spit the mask out. Goodwin was later released to home confinement in February. Go ahead and show that picture, Mr. Anderson. Our guest this morning, what? My goodness. Her name is Marie Goodwin. Marie, welcome to Last Call. Do we have her up? Oh. Go ahead and bring her in, Mr. Anderson. I got her. Hi, Marie. Welcome to Last Call.
Thank you for having us. Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, that Daniel, is it Goodwin or Godwin?
Goodwin.
That Daniel Goodwin is sure an interesting fella. You know anything about him?
He's a wonderful guy. Yes, he has autism, so wearing a mask was not very comfortable for him. And every time they came to our home, he had to put a mask on. So we compromised after a while. He was wearing one of those visors, transparent visors instead of a mask, and
Yeah,
I did that. So that was good.
Yeah, I did the same thing, by the way.
You did?
Marie, this is interesting. When I first went out without the mask, I wore gloves. Huh? So at least I'm half safe.
Yes.
Then after a while, I took the gloves off. But what I started doing was testing certain organizations. And am I talking with my hands, Mr. Anderson? My Italian background. So at one doctor's office, I started refusing to wear the mask, and I wore the shield. Another doctor's office, I refused to wear anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get into either one. It was crazy, and a lot of trouble doing that. But anyway, by the way, Marie Goodwin is a French immigrant who moved to the United States in 1981 with her American husband and young family. Today, she's the proud mother of 5 grown children who are scattered across the country. Marie has always been involved in various projects and causes, but her involvement has taken on new meaning in recent years due to her son, Daniel Goodwin, who is a defendant in the January 6th incident. In support of Daniel, Marie has dedicated herself to projects such as the J6 Patriot News, the American Gulags Chronicles. I got that. I left it upstairs. I'm sorry. I yelled at you for 2 weeks to get me that, and I didn't even bring it down to the studio. Maybe I'll get that during the break. Or maybe Mrs. BJ will bring that down if she can find it. Daniel's a defendant. I guess, first of all, Marie, what is Daniel's current status? And we're going to bring Mark Sutherland in, who is part of the process here.
Yes, well,
Go ahead, Marie.
Yes, he was released on reconnaissance in March last year. So he was 20 years in jail. 20 days in jail at the beginning in Fannin County in Texas, and then he was about 13 months in home detention, where the only thing he could do at the most going outside was to take the trash, but he couldn't go stare at the trash can more than 1 minute. He had to come back in, otherwise they said they would send the police. He was not allowed to go in the backyard or anything. So it was pretty mentally stressing for 13 months to be between four walls. And then he was his lawyer got him out of being home detention, so he's now free on reconnaissance. He has to stay in the district where we are in North Texas, but the first thing he did after cutting his monitor was to go to Chick-fil-A and get a sandwich.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What was Daniel doing in Washington, D.C. on January 6th?
So Daniel works for Stop Hate, and I don't know if you know about Stop Hate, but it was started during the LA trial riots, and David Somo, an amazing man, a wonderful man, started Stop Hate, to bring people together in this country and have people love each other instead of hating each other. And so Daniel works for Stop Hate, and he was driving from San Francisco, where he lived at the time, in order to take videos of the event, which is what he does when he goes around the country and does journalism. He's a citizen journalist, basically. So that's what that's why he was in DC.
First or second or third, some amendment applies to that, I think. So he's in Washington, D.C. as a journalist. And as a result of that, sometime later, he was charged with violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds without lawful authority, obstruction of an official proceeding, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. So he was present, and anybody there that was present, trust me, is going to be charged with all that, regardless of whether they moved 1 inch one way or the other.
Yes, and those charges are pretty redundant, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Anyway, he didn't do any violence, so I don't know why they put violent entry, because all he did is walk in. He was told to leave, and he left. He was less than 1 minute in the Capitol.
Well, they could throw attempted murder or theft and all these. I mean, they could throw 100 different charges against your son or anybody else that was there, and then come to them and say, you know what, these are pretty serious charges, and if we can convict you on any of them, you're going to go to jail for a long time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to offer you an out. That's a picture of Daniel and his mother. We're going to offer you an out. There's this one charge, and if you admit to that, we'll let you go. So when they do that, then the individual like Daniel or somebody else, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the electric chair, or are you going to go to this lesser charge and get out and live your life, or maybe spend a few months in jail? So is that pretty much where we are, Marie?
Yes. At first, they offered Daniel to plead guilty to the charge, to the 1512 charge, which is interruption of an official proceeding that has up to 20 years in jail as a penalty. Yeah. And he said, no, I don't want to plead guilty to that because I didn't do it anyway. So anyway, they came back later and they dropped all the charges except one misdemeanor, which was entering the Capitol building.
Obstruction of an official proceeding is how I think they framed that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they have given this charge to over 200 people, I think.
Yeah, I think we have a pastor friend that is facing that charge as well. It's just.
Yes. So that charge, if you know, this charge was originally leveled against Enron people during the Enron hearings because they were shredding documents. Well, do you think that any J6er shred document on J6? No, I don't think so. Nobody shredded documents. First of all, I think there was no document to shred anyway, but nobody shredded documents. So the charge doesn't apply. So this Judge Nichols is one of the judges in DC. Actually, dropped the charge for 3 people, and it went to appeal, and the appeal has not been rendered yet. They had the arguments, but we're waiting for the answer for that.
Okay. You after all this started with your son, what did you do?
Well, I became part of a group of other people that had their family either in jail or home detention or had been charged, and I met a woman there that whose name is Paula Calloway. So Paula Calloway was instrumental in getting mail to the people during the Bondi Ranch standoff, where 50 people were arrested I think it was 2016. Anyway, but she reenacted the Patriot Mail Project, and I met her and I said, "Hey, can I help you?" She said, "Sure, help me. You can help me. You could do stuff for me." So I started to do that. I started to look for people that were G6ers to add them to the program, which is we have a list and we have the addresses of people who are in jail. And for those who are not in jail, actually, I said to Paula, "Hey, Paula, I think we should put all the J6ers on the list, not just the ones that are in jail, because everybody is under a tremendous amount of stress." And she said, "Yeah, that's a good idea." So we started to add all the others besides the ones that were in jail. And I tell you, I mean, they are so grateful for that. It's just I look for people every day if I can, I look at social media and stuff like that to be able to find somebody who is isolated, because we have about over 200 people on the list, and this means that we have about 800 people that do not know about us and that are not on the list. So we try to add people every day, try to get people to say, "Hey, if you have a friend, a family member, you are a J6er yourself, get in touch with me."
Yeah, they like to isolate. J6 Patriot News, the American Gulag Chronicles, which I received, Telegram channel, the Patriot Mail Project. We're going to take a quick break. We've got Mark Sutherland with us, and Mark is from England. And what does he have to do with Marie Goodwin and all this J6 stuff? Huh? We'll bring Mark on. I think Myra wants to say something as well, one of our panelists. B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson. This is your last call. We're on with Marie Goodwin, J6 Patriot News.
Last call with B.J. Edwards. Real talk about real life.
And we are back. I'm going to try to bring Myra on if I can. Maybe we lost her. Myra, can you hear us okay?
She doesn't look like she's home.
Okay. Well, we won't bring Myra on then. I'll remove that. And I'm going to bring Mark in with us.
He's there. Mark was there.
Morning, Mark. Unmute yourself, brother. Or do we have him muted? Hang on.
No.
There we go.
The host has unmuted my mic. Thank you. Can you hear me now, sir?
There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, good afternoon from this side of the pond. Marie, lovely to see you. Sorry, the reception, my end from your end at times is a bit bad, but we will continue. Very interesting what you were saying about masks in the beginning there, JR, because the bit of controversy here has constantly been about masks and wearing masks in schools in regard to these lockdowns.
Yeah.
And because some WhatsApp messages has been released by a journalist called Isabel Oakeshott, who just wrote a book, biography of Matt Hancock's story. Matt Hancock was the health minister during the pandemic of COVID stupidity. And it's come out that the reason why Boris Johnson ended up on insisting that masks were worn in schools was because the First Minister of Scotland got out of the gates first and said, I'm having my children wear masks in schools. So Boris Johnson, who decided to not challenge Nicola Sturgeon, went along with this. JR, it's so important to hear Daniel's story. It's also so important to hear what Marie has to say as a loving mother and absolutely getting in there and fighting for her son. It's amazing. And this particular book, The American Gulag Chronicles, that Marie is very much part of, and I have the privilege to sit on the board from this side of the pond because David Summerall of StopHate.com is a dear friend. This book, I can only plug it even more than to say again that we would really appreciate if people would order the book. Go to J6 Patriot News and order this book and get it out there. It's an incredible reminder of what these J6 prisoners are going through, all the incredible writing contacts that Tim and his wife has had with prisoners and others, of course, Maria herself. So this is a really, really important historical record. And again, it has to be set in the history of during 20th century history, hence the throwback to Russia, hence why it's called the Gulag Chronicles, hence why it's reflecting the book by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Gulag Archipelago, and all the history of that. And we have on this side of the pond a very, very embarrassing, appalling history where Soviet Russia is concerned and where the foundations of the gulags are concerned, because history is so important. If we don't understand it, otherwise we are destined to repeat it ourselves. Marie being her of course French, coming over to America in 1981 with her American husband, she would give us far more of a historical context of the French Revolution. So the American Revolution was with God. We can say that the French Revolution was without God. And we have an embarrassing situation over here in our history where round about 1924, our then Labour Prime Minister, the first Labour Prime Minister, Ramsay MacDonald, wanted to give loans to Soviet Russia of 35 to 50 million pounds. These loans, there is no doubt, at the end of the day, would have found them way in regard to propping up, to me, the Gulag system, founding more and more the whole communist regime within the Soviet Union. And the Gulag system was started in 1918 and ended in the 1950s. And I need to try and find you some links, JR, of some incredible documentaries that have come out over the last couple of weeks that go through the gulags, what these people suffered, who were sent there because they stood up the regime and they spoke truth to power. And the J6, the people that attended on January the 6th, 2021, were basically going along with their constitutional rights and wanting to bring all the leaders of their country to account. And of course, that power has been completely misused. And now we know over the last few years how the FBI has been.
I think we lost him there a second. Marie, what is your relationship with Mark?
Well, Mark and I are both on the board of directors for the American Gulag Chronicle Inc. So let me tell you a little story about the original story of the American Gulag Chronicles. So Tim Rivers, who is the one who wrote the chapters, the introduction chapters to each chapter, was the person that joined me. I asked him to join me to start J6 Patriot News because we wanted to give people information about what was going on, especially tell them about the stories of the families, because it's not just one man in jail, it's the family is destroyed by financial situations and all that.
Yes,
And
yes.
not having their family at home. And at the same time, because of the Patriot Man Project, Tim Rivers started to write to prisoners in the Gulag, in DC Gulag, and he started to receive letters. And he was so heartbroken by what he was reading, and he started the American Gulag Chronicle Telegram channel. So now we have a website. It's j6patriotnews.com, and we have a blog for J6 Patriot News and the American Gulag Chronicles. So he started to get more and more letters, and I told him, David, this is history. These people are really writing letters from a prison in this country, and when they are innocent, they're in pretrial detention. And I think the American people needs to know about that. You should write a book. Yeah? And I bugged him long enough, and then he finally said, okay, let's do it. So this is how it started. I had some background in layout, publishing, and stuff like that. So I got in touch with a layout person to help us and a proofer. And we began to work on this. And it took us, amazingly, 2 months to put everything together. And usually people take a year or 2 years or 3 years to write a book and publish it, but it took us 2 months. I thought that was very urgent.
Yep.
People needed to know.
Mark, we lost you for a while. I'm going to bring you back on. What your relationship with J6 and Marie? How did you run across Marie? Can you hear me, Mark? I don't think you can hear me. Okay, Marie, I'm sorry. Mark may or may not be able to.
So Mark is on the board of director to the American Gulag Chronicles Inc. that we started. It's a nonprofit in Florida in order to raise money with the sales of the book to be able to help J6ers. So we help them. We've been helping them, a bunch of people actually from the very beginning who need to to go to DC for trial or to pay a bill, a car payment, a rent. We help them every way we can. So they come to us, and our boards meets, and Mark is part of the board. David Sunmore from StopHate.com is part of the board. Paula Calloway is part of the board. Of course, Tim Rivers is also part of the board. So we and Irene, we have also Irene is with us. So we are all together and decisions are made. I do not have voting from the beginning. I decided to not have voting privileges for the decision that the American Gulag Chronicle takes because I have a J6er in my family and I don't want a conflict of interest. So I do not vote, but I give a voice still to J6ers.
Okay, we're going to bring Myra on again, or I try to get Myra on. Myra, go ahead and unmute yourself. Maybe.
Morning. I just had a message for Mary and Goodman and Mark.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I wanted to read Ephesians 5:16-20 because that's what you guys are doing. They're soldiers for the Lord. Redeeming the time because the days are evil. Wherefore, be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is, and be not drunk with wine therein in excess, but be filled with the Spirit. And I can tell that you guys are. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your hearts to the Lord, giving thanks always for all things unto God and Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for your work. God bless you. Hallelujah.
Thank you so much. I want to tell you a little story about this. When I hear sentencings for J6ers, sometimes my faith falters. I have to admit that. So a friend of mine asked me to join a Bible study where we were studying the armor of God from Ephesians 6. And I started that last week, the shield of faith. And I had a hard time because one of our friends got sentenced 32 months. And God knew that. But I talked to Luke Coffey, who is, probably heard about him. Luke Coffey is also a J6 defendant. And he's also a producer of movies and other things like that. He was in the documentary Capital Punishment. So I text him and I say, I'm so devastated with David's sentencing. And so we talked a little while, and then he sent me a sermon, and the sermon was about the shield of faith. So I said, okay, God, I get it. You really want me to take that shield up. And I did. And so I feel better now. And knowing that God cares, because not only I'm doing the Bible study on the shield of faith, and Luke sent me a sermon about the same thing, and he didn't know I was studying that. So to me, that was the hand of God in this too. So I think it's wonderful to know that God has my back, our back, even though we see lots of bad decisions, but God is in this still. We have so many Christian people in our group. I have a group of J6ers and family. We have about 140 people in it. And you would not believe how these people trust God, pray, support each other with prayers, with words. They're wonderful. I love them all.
We've got a panel here. We've got Major Tom that would like to make a comment or two, and then we're going to have Clay come in. And I'm going to try to get you back into Mark probably after the break. So hang in there, brother. Tom, you're up.
Marie, I just wanted to say, God bless you for standing up for your son. What they're doing here is just despicable. They're violating the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom to redress your government with grievances, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. They're violating the Sixth Amendment, the right to a speedy trial. It's just horrible what they're doing to your son. It's very un-American. They're doing it for a reason. They want to silence people. They want to make an example out of your son and the others, so that the rest of us who love our country and disagree with this particular administration get silenced into not responding at all. They want us to become cowards. We need to do the opposite. We need to stand up. We need to speak out. We need to call out these things when they're wrong. I know if Mark was able to speak to us, he'd probably talk more about what's going on their side of the pond. They have the same tyranny going on over there as well. The administration, if you're not in line with what the government's narrative is, then they want to silence you. They want to make you cower. They want to make you afraid to speak out. There's been cases like, Tommy Robinson, for example, was bringing out what was going on with some
in England.
In England with the raping of young women by a particular minority from the Middle East. And, for that, he was silenced and prosecuted under the law, under their bizarre laws. So I just wanted to give you encouragement that most Americans out there, they know what's happening. They're not blind to it. They see the evil that's going on. And we want to give you and your son encouragement that we're with you in this battle.
And by the way, Marie, you're offered an opportunity. I'm going to get you in here, Clay. You're offering an opportunity here for people to participate. You're giving them a formal opportunity, actually three formal opportunities, which we need. Sometimes we're all dressed up and we don't know where to go. Well, guess what? Look at Marie's organizations, or look at the Natural Family Foundation, or look at these other, like Coach Dave Dobemar. It doesn't make any difference. They're out there. The needs are there, and you're providing that for them, Marie. Clay, do you have a comment?
Yes, well, there's a lot I could say, brother. I appreciate everybody. I'll tell you what, I liked it when we were back living in the days where you didn't have to wear a seatbelt if you didn't want to. I think that's where it really all started, taking our freedoms away. If somebody was claustrophobic and the seatbelt made them uncomfortable, let it be their own decision. Same way as going and surfing a big wave out in the ocean. If you don't want to go surf that big wave, take the chance. And if that's how you want to live your life, that's the kind of free world I like to live in. We homeschool, we've still got one 15-and-a-half-year-old at the house, and we do our Bible study as the first subject of the day. And after that, we read some of the letters from American Gulag Chronicles and share that amongst us. And I think that's the kind of thing we need to do to let the youth that's coming up to understand that there's good people in prison. And the ones that are in prison are the one that would be standing with you or for you or trying to fight for your rights. The ones that are in prison, they're not our enemy.
Great. Go ahead, Clay. Go ahead.
That's it, brother.
Great point. Seatbelts, insurance companies. Mask and vax.
I have a question for Marie or you, DJ. How many people J6ers actually are in prisons right now, and how many are actually under home detention? Do you have any idea, Marie?
Yes, we have about 80 plus people who are incarcerated right now. And I can tell you, I add people every day on that list who are incarcerated because people are starting to have their sentences, being serving their sentences. So yeah, I add 2 or 3 people a week on the list that are starting their sentence. I had a lady, Tammy, last week who started her sentence. Actually, this week, she started her sentence on her birthday, which is March the 2nd. So yes, she's wonderful little woman, and she's gonna spend several weeks in jail.
And some of these people they're getting sentences that are not commensurate with the crime they committed, if they even committed a crime, right? We're seeing people get like 4 years for just trespassing. Is that happening?
Yes, it is happening. It's just amazing. And the sentence is so up and down. You don't know what's going to happen when you go to trial, when you take a plea, because it's just all over the map. Some people will get 3 years probation. Some people will get 5 years jail for the same sentence. I actually have a guy, Robert Palmer, who is in jail in Coleman, and I contacted him and we've been talking to each other. But his sentence was one of the first been sentenced, and he has 3 years. And people that did worse thing than him had a sentence that was way smaller, or they didn't even get jail. So he wants to appeal, and I think we're going to try to help him to appeal that, because the sentencing he got is really unfair, and most sentences are unfair. You see all the trials in DC, no one has been found not guilty except, one person was found not guilty. And we're not sure why, but all the others found guilty with horrendous sentences.
Can you tell me what percentage of people, I'm sorry, BJ, I'm stepping in here with questions. Can you tell me what percentage of people actually assaulted an officer and that's why they're in prison?
I don't want the percentage, but I can tell you that it's pretty amazing what they called a deadly weapon. For example, our friend David Judd, who was sentenced for 32 months last week, he had a firecracker. Okay, so they wanted to give him insurrection, terrorism enhancement on his sentences. And fortunately, one of his neighbor, who is a vet and has known him since he was a little kid, came to DC to testify. And he said, Your Honor, I've been in war. I have seen terrorism firsthand. And I can tell you what a firecracker is not terrorism. David Judd is not a terrorist. He's been my neighbor for 20 years. I know him. He's a wonderful man. He's actually a Christian, by the way. He does ministry.
Of course he is.
Yes. And so the judge kind of nodded, and after they had an ATF witness that said, no, a firecracker is not a deadly weapon. So he got 32 months still, but they were asking for 90 months.
Wow. Amazing. Thanks, Tom. And thanks, Clay. And we're going to take a quick break, Marie. I was going to try to bring Mark back on, but I think we lost him again. When we come back, I have a question for you, Marie. Donald Trump, other politicians, are you getting calls from them daily about how they can help you? BJ Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson, your last call.
Put together a book, and we would love you to go to this website, j6patriotnews.com. j6patriotnews.com. Go to that website, pre-order the book. It is called The American Gulag Chronicles. It is an amazing masterpiece that only they could have put together. It is an absolutely amazing piece of work, and 100% of the proceeds will be going to J6 defendants, legal funds, and other support. You can read that on the site. That is in black and white right there on the website. Please go to j6patriotnews.com. They are amazing. Tim Rivers and Marie Goodwin are amazing patriots. We love them from the very beginning because we knew that they loved us. We absolutely are so grateful that they are on our side. Tim Rivers, you're one of my heroes. Marie Goodwin, you are one of my heroes. Thank you so much, you guys.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Get a gold star, Mr. Anderson. Well done. Well done. Hi, Marie. I left you with a question. We're speaking with Marie Goodwin. What is the main organization or the main? I want you to get to the question, but my first question is, what is the main organization? What is the best way to get a hold of you? What is the best way to help you, Marie?
Well, of course, there is J6 Patriot News. There's a form there that you can fill out if you want to help us in any way, shape, or form. You can get the book. If you get the book, all the proceeds will go to J6 families. And you can also go to the Patriot Mail Project. And if you know of a J6er, or you can send us a message through our form, and we will add the person to the mailing list. So I can tell you the amount of mail they are getting is really good. And they contact me, the J6ers contact me all the time with tears in their eyes, tell me, you don't know, Marie, how much it means to us to receive mail. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, I got an email, or not an email, but I got a letter back from JD Rivera. And it's just sad. JD is a good man. And he was basically doing what your son was doing, only with a camera.
Yes.
And they threw in prison for 8 years. I'm sorry, not a year, 8 months. And he's using this, and I was going to read it, but I don't have time to read it this morning. But he's using this as an opportunity to share the love, the truth, and hope of Jesus Christ. It's absolutely amazing. It's a mission trip for him. He is so special, as are all of those folks that were there on January 6th. All of them. We are losing this country, folks. And we're losing it because we can't show up. And when we do show up, they want to make examples out of us. They want to scare us. They want to confuse us. We can't let them do that. That's why you need to support people like Marie and others who are fighting the good battle in your local school boards, in your local city councils. They're all over the place. They are trying to look. We should be a righteous nation. Righteousness exalts a nation, and they are doing everything they can to get righteousness out of the picture. They're starting with our kids in schools. They're starting with patriots in Washington, D.C. Anybody that opposes this, and then you've got the barking dogs in Congress, which are doing no good at all, which leads me to the question I asked early on. What about Donald Trump? What about politicians? What about business leaders? Are they breaking your door down, Marie, and say, where can we help? How much more can we give you? Are they doing that, Marie?
No, I'm afraid they're not. The only people that knocked at our door was the FBI in January 21. That's the only ones we've seen. And that was pretty amazing. I saw those SWAT teams on TV shows and stuff like that. Well, that happened to us.
I see Donald Trump and others going to East Palestine.
Yes.
They're not coming to you or your house or JD's house to help out. They want it because of the propaganda that was generated by big media, by politicians, by big business. Because of all that was generated, He who controls the information controls the world, Maria. And that's what they're doing. They're controlling the information. You're pecking away at it. And trust me, it is helping. Every little bit helps. And unifying and finding more people is critical in that quest. We've got just a couple minutes left, Marie. Anything you want to leave our audience with today?
Well, just remember the J6ers. Don't forget them. Don't let them behind, like the Army say. We want you to check our website and get the book. You support them by getting the book, because all the proceeds go to the families and to the J6ers. And I can tell you something that is very encouraging is we see God's work in all this. In the DC Gulag in Washington, D.C., we have Christians, and we actually have 2 baptisms a couple of months ago, people that gave their life to Christ through this. So God is at work in the jails. God is at work in all those families, and just pray for them. Pray every day for them. Thank you so much.
Your main source of income is from the American Gulags. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm volunteer for everything else. Sorry.
Okay.
Of course, teams and my work, our work for the American Gulag Chronicle was volunteer, and everything we do is volunteer work.
Very good. Very good. Marie Goodwin, J6 Patriot News. Ladies and gentlemen, do not think that you can't do anything. I can give you examples of when we show up, we win. I look back on what I've done for the past few decades, and there's been some things that have accomplished because we showed up. But I can guarantee you, if you show up, you're not going to win. I mean, if you show up, you have a possibility of winning. If you don't show up, you have no possibility of winning. If you don't say anything, not to say is to say, if you don't say anything, then don't expect anything to happen. Prayer, yes, indeed, is important. But in my humble opinion, prayer lacking works, well, who's going to do the work? I often kid about when people pray, they give me and Mr. Anderson and Maria and others like us more to do. When you pray, God speaks back to you and he tells you, you already know what the problem is or you wouldn't be praying. So it should be, what is it I can do, Lord? Not somebody else, but what it is I can do, Lord. Where can I help? Mr. Anderson, I think we got a 2-minute warning. Thank you very much, Marie. God bless you and Godspeed. We got a 2-minute warning, Mr. Anderson, and then we're going to get to Aiden Haggard. Oh boy, can't wait to get to this gentleman. Cannot wait to get with Aiden.
Why is keeping people scared now? Oh, not now. It's been all of my life. One of the roles of the medical profession. I don't know. I have no answer to the question. 50,000 people die a year of secondhand smoke was the tip-off to me. And it was carried on. And then what they do is the lack of commitment to truth in the medical profession, just dismissing people as anti-vaxxers, they think, and they're right, they could get away with that. That's what the left does. It doesn't deal with, let me explain to you why this isn't true. For example, weren't there supposed to be, I think 40 years ago, tests on the safety of vaccinations on children? I don't mean COVID vaccinations. This is a subject I am embarrassed to say I bought the lie that people like Bobby Kennedy Jr. were just crackpot anti-vaxxers. I bought it. I will have to answer to God for not pursuing truth and being seduced by the mainstream media, being lied to and believing it. I'm embarrassed, but I won't do it anymore. So I'm a sort of penitent. I never used the term anti-vaxxer. I simply ignored him. But having seen what I have seen now from the medical profession,
keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
We are back. I'm going to get to our next guest. Did you? I mentioned this to you earlier, Mr. Anderson. This is Women's History Month.
Oh boy.
Smithsonian to include trans women in American Women's History Museum.
What?
The interim director of the Smithsonian's new American Women's History Museum understands DNA. Well, at least in the metaphorical sense. Interim director Lisa Sasaki told the New York Times that transgender women, aka men pretending to be women, will be included in the potential new museum, which has already received millions in funding because it's inclusionary.
Inclusionary?
Yeah. Oh, how about inclusivity?
Inclusivity.
Defines what the homage to American women is all about. Ironically, the DNA of the actual Americans found in this new museum does not matter to Sasaki. They simply have to identify as a woman while having made some contribution to our society. So, happy Women's Month.
So, like Bruce Jenner contributed.
Yep.
Because he became a woman.
Yep.
In ID only.
So much of this insanity is being developed and generated in our government-run indoctrination centers.
How do you take anything seriously?
We call them public schools. Public schools, but they're anything but that. They are indoctrination centers. We talk to you about our local city schools and what they're doing about the gender queer, etc. In 2019, speaking of public schools, a group of young Ohio students who cherish the ideals of conservatism had planned to start a conservative club in their new school. And of course, as it seemingly always is with Christian conservative movements, our public educators saw fit to discourage their organizational efforts, throwing roadblock after roadblock after roadblock in their way. And to his credit, their young leader, the leader of that group, not only refused to give in, but instead, along with other members of his young organization, went to the city's county law library to learn and study their civil rights in order to fight injustices the school calls them to face. Which is ironic because here we have a supposed educational establishment trying to discourage one of their students, but instead end up encouraging he and his classmates to learn even more. Strange how that works sometimes, isn't it? Huh? Our next guest today.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Aiden Haggard. Aiden, welcome to Last Call. It is so good to see you, young man. And I mean young man.
Yes, thank you. I am a junior at Medina High School and the president of the American Conservative Youth Union, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me about your journey, Aiden. First of all, why would you want to, you did this in 2019, so that means you were what, in 8th grade?
Yes, sir. Yeah, right before COVID, we were sitting at lunch and we were discussing, some politics that was going on. The election was coming up. And we were discussing what was going on. We were like, hey, our parents are Republicans. That must mean we're Republicans too, So we moved forward with this idea that, if we're going to be Republicans, we should be active Republicans. And so we decided to start an organization. We tried to start what was called Teenage Republicans, but their infrastructure wasn't the greatest in place. So we then went to Young Americans Foundation and then finally settled with an organization called Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA is one of the nation's most fastest growing conservative youth organizations in high schools and college campuses. And we settled with them. We first went before our student council and we testified saying, here's our constitution, here's our rules, here's how we would operate. We got asked a million questions. I mean, anything and everything. We got asked, would we discriminate against this class of people? Would we discriminate against that class of people? And I answered with the following: as long as you are being civil and you are being kind to others, you are welcome. Even if you disagree with us, I would encourage you to attend. And eventually they did shut us down, citing, quote, that we are not a good fit for all students of Medina High School. You know, if we were to apply that logic to everything, every single club would be banned. Just because I don't like chess doesn't mean that chess players shouldn't be allowed to start a club. And the irony of the fact lies that they didn't even ask a single question to the other club being approved at the same time, which is book club. The only question actually that they asked was, quote, do you have to read the book? So we went with this and we were kind of set back and we were kind of thinking, you know, maybe this isn't for us. We just cut our losses and stopped trying. And then a good colleague of mine, our then vice president, Anga Chabra, found in school policy that it is our right to start an organization. It was based off of what's called the Equal Access Act, which says that students are prohibited, or the schools are prohibited to deny students the right to meet on the basis of religious, political, or philosophical content of the meeting. And we found this law and we went to the school. And for like 3 months, we had to like keep on discussing with them, and they eventually let us meet. What ended up happening is on September 9th, we were putting flags out for September 11th. Thousands of people died tragically on that day, and we wanted to make sure that we could show that their lives were not in vain, that they sacrificed something that day, and that all these families truly lost someone when they were lost in those towers. And we wanted to make sure that we remembered who they were. So we planted 2,000, almost 3,000 flags outside of our high school. And we had this photo that was taken. We invited the school board members. We invited judges, politicians, sheriffs, what have you. And we invited all these individuals. And one of them was my good friend and colleague, Jake Poling of Turning Point USA. Jake is a field rep of Turning Point USA out of Columbus. And he helped us kind of work this all together and kind of helping plan us the event. And we got a photo together and Jake was in it. And a couple months later, I get pulled out of my chemistry class. We're learning about ions and cations. And I would say I would know what those are, except I was pulled out. So don't ask me what they are. But I was learning about that, and I was called out, and I get pulled down to the principal's office. And I have the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and the principal all sitting down at a table, and me on the other side. And
was the sheriff there as well?
Yeah, the sheriff. The sheriff was there as well with the photo. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we got him involved.
Oh, good Lord. Go ahead. Hey.
Yeah, we were. I was sitting on the other side of the table. It's like the ominous board table. You know, they're all over here, and you're down here as one individual, and they're like trying to go against you. And the first thing that comes out of their mouths is, "We are extremely disappointed with you." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I asked why, and they said, and they pulled up the photo that we had, and they asked us, and I was super confused. I was just like, "We put flags out to honor those who lost their lives on 9/11. How are you disappointed?" And they say, "You deceived us." And they essentially accused me of conspiracy almost against them. Not their exact words, but essentially. What they said is that we neglected to inform them that Jake Poling, a member of Turning Point USA, was a member of Turning Point USA, but also that he was going to be there. And the thing I find difficult about this, and I didn't immediately discuss it, but I after more thought after the fact, is I realized that's not the case. Not only when we were all there getting that photo taken beforehand, we were all in a circle and we said who we are, where we're from, and what our life was like on 9/11, 2001. You know, obviously I wasn't born then. And the sheriff told his tales. Judge Donna Carr of the Ninth District Court of Appeals was there, and she was telling her stories about how everybody was afraid they were going to attack Cleveland too. And we were all telling our stories.
Aiden,
Yes.
wait a minute. This is at the school. You're in a meeting at the school.
Yeah, we
And
were right outside the school. Yeah.
And who was in that meeting? The sheriff.
Oh, no. Sorry. This was when we were taking the photo right outside the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there just there to be in the photo and to talk to us. And so he wasn't in the meeting. Trust me, the sheriff was not like trying to pressure me. We invited him to the photo and he showed up, and we were very, very thankful for our sheriff, Terry Grice. But going back to the meeting, they pretty much accused us of lying to them. And once again, they knew that Jake Poling was from Turning Point USA because he introduced himself from Turning Point USA. And Jake's sister is the advisor to our organization at the high school when we were still meeting. So in two different instances, they knew, one, who Jake Poling was, and two, that he was affiliated with Turning Point. But they either had neglect to actually think about what he said, or they just didn't have any care about what he was saying. But it was because of this in a clerical error that sent Turning Point materials to our high school and not to our PO box, that they decided to shut us down. They pretty much said no more. And this was right before Veterans Day. So we were supposed to put flags out for Veterans Day because those flags were donated by the VFW and the American Legion. They spent a good amount of money and we were only able to use them twice. And so we still are to this day unable to meet. It was through all of this that we started researching the law. All of our members of our organizations and the staff members of our organizations, we could cite the laws off the back of our head. You know, we went to the bottom basement of our courthouse. It's very scary down there, by the way. I wouldn't invite anyone to go down there, but it's scary. But we went there and we started researching the law, and we saw all these court cases that are applicable. And we were like, we are just like that court case. So we tried to seek justice. And we tried to go to different agencies in the government and different private entities. First, we went to the Ohio Attorney General's office, and they rightfully said that we can't help you too much. It's a jurisdictional thing, you know? So they can only do so much to help. And I don't blame them. I understand they have so much limitations to themselves. We went to our county prosecutor who said, I'm sorry this is happening. Yes.
Who's we that you're talking about? You said
we is the organization. We have our organization, the we, that I'll often refer to. We have a staff of 10, and we have several members as well who are due paying.
ACYU, you're talking about the ACYU?
Yes, the American Conservative Youth Union.
Okay, now that this is just high school students, or are there outside folks that are helping you as you're going into these meetings with people?
We have people. We're primarily we are founded by and ran by us high school students. We don't have any. We're all juniors and sophomores and freshmen that are part of this organization. We don't exactly answer to anybody, but we do. We cooperate with different organizations. The big part of the union part of us is bringing together organizations like Students for Life, Turning Point USA, Young Americans Foundation, the Federalist Society. We want to bring these together so that they can collaborate together and ensure that they know that they can work together and make a stronger force.
Good. Okay, so you're going through the process of trying to get acknowledged or getting a little traction with your school in terms of whether it be flags or whether it be the conservative, but you're taking the steps. You've done your research. You've gone down into the basement and you've done your research. You're also employing outside help, people outside of the school. You'd mentioned Turning Point. Who else have you worked with?
We've worked with a lot of civil organizations within our community, and we'll speak with them and we'll ask for them help. We don't answer directly to anybody, but we do work with Turning Point. We have some colleagues in Students for Life that we also like to work with. So we're not alone in this fight. Obviously, certain people can only do certain stuff to help us, but we have people who can help us, and that's what's important.
Any politicians?
Yes, there are some politicians who are that are kind of working on our side. I won't name drop anybody, but we do have a good slate of politicians who know of our struggles, who know of some possible remedies. One of our legislators, our congressman, is going to be working with us to possibly help resolve this issue. So now that the election cycle is over and everybody's finally getting settled in their office, we are thankful that we have a good slate of Republican elected officials, and who is hopefully going to be able to help us get through this problem. Yes.
Hey, we're going to take a break here shortly. The point I want to make to our audience is that this is not just a single individual or a couple individuals. They're working a smart way. Okay. They're number one, they're uniting with others that aren't exactly in their cause, but they know the value of helping out this cause, and this cause possibly helping out their cause. They've also brought in outside organizations, folks that aren't in school, politicians, and they're working with them. You understand what's happening here? They are not isolating themselves, which our government wants us to do. They want us to hide in our corner and be afraid. Hey, eighth grader, you can't have this organization. We call the rules here, and we call the rights here. We don't care what your parents think or anybody else. It's our school. Well, look what happened here. Look what's happening here. We'll take a quick break and we get back with you. Aiden Haggard.
keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
We're back, and Tom, if you have any questions, one of our panelists may have a question or two for you. Aiden, first of all, you are so special. You don't know that, and I don't want to fill your head whole. I want you to be able to get out of that room when we're done here. Okay. By the way, are your parents there with you today?
Unfortunately, not. They weren't able to join me today, but they're definitely alongside our fight that we have today.
Well, I would certainly hope so. You in 8th grade, you want to form this conservative organization. So where are you? 8th grade, that was 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. You're 4 years into this process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in 4 years, wait a minute. I think Tom has a question. Then I'll ask my question. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, Aiden, congratulations, man. For a young man your age to step out into the fire, right into the fire. I totally respect you, young man. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. My question for you is, have you had a lot of support? You just mentioned your parents, but have the parents of other students in the school? Because I know that you probably got a small club compared to the number of students that are in the school, but do you get the feeling that more students would like to join if they felt like there wasn't so much pressure against them? I think that's part of the problem, that the administration's pushing so hard back that a lot of students that would like to join probably are not, because they just don't want to get involved in the mess. Do you get that sense that that's going on?
Yeah, a big part of we've spoken to a lot of people. We're still working on outreach, although we cannot meet directly inside the high school. We are still able to pass out materials. So consider us almost an underground organization when it comes to our own high school. We are still able to pass out these materials, and we say, "Why don't you join us? Join our fight." Very few people will. Why? Because people are, like you said, afraid of going against the school board. When you have to fight for something, you're a little bit more reluctant to try to do such. So yes, it is a big part of people who decline to join. A big part of that is because the school's trying to stop us, and they don't want to be caught up in that mess.
And I know there's a big battle right now with indoctrination of kids into the woke ideology. What percentage of the kids in your school, Aiden, do you think have gone woke, and what percentage do you think are still reachable with your message?
Well, be not dismayed. Our school, even though the Democratic teachers are 3-1, they have 3 Democratic teachers for every 1 Republican registered. Even though the institution, the administration, and the individual teachers are more likely and more are to be Democratic, our students are extremely conservative. Our students are not as woke. Obviously, the woker individuals are more likely to be a lot louder. Today we live in a system where those ideas which are louder are often perceived as right, not those who are actually truly right in purpose and right in cause. So it's the woke individuals who are definitely louder, and the woke students who are definitely louder at our high school, and thus their voices are more represented. But we have the silent majority. We have the silent majority in the students. Students support us. We give out pins and stickers and buttons regularly, and we are thankfully able to mobilize them to an extent to support our cause. So long story short, the administration and teachers are very woke, but the students are not so much.
Well, my last piece of advice to you would be to encourage that silent majority to become a vocal majority, because silent majority has gotten us to the spot we're in these days, with the woke ideology taking over with just a smaller amount of people. So get that silent majority to become a vocal majority, and I think a lot of these problems will start to get solved. Thanks, Aiden.
Say is to say, folks. Not to say is to say. I think Myra wants to give a little bit of encouragement here this morning. Myra, go ahead, please.
I'm trying to mute myself. Yes, good morning. That is so beautiful the way Tom put it, the silent minority becoming vocal. And I have John 11-15 in that regard. These things say he, and after that he say unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may wake him out of sleep. And that's what you are doing. Beautiful job. And say his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spoke of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking off rest in sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I'm glad for you sakes that I was not there, to the intent that ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. So that's what you're doing. What John 11:15. That is so beautiful. Hallelujah.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Myra. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we are definitely trying to awaken those individuals who are kind of sort of politically active. You know, a big part of our organization is teaching students what your rights are, what the Constitution says you can and cannot do, ensuring students know the liberties and the history of our country, showing praise to 1776, the individuals who wrote our Constitution, the individuals who fought for our liberty in every single war. Our country is one of the very few countries that one can truly be free and can go as high as they wish to, as long as they are willing to put the work in. So I want to make sure that we hold our country dear, that we are telling individuals and students the future of our country, that this country is a country that is made for individuals to thrive in. And I want to make sure that we can mobilize students like this. So yes, we are working slowly but surely with helps of many people to mobilize these individuals, to awaken them, to be awake but not woke.
You're absolutely amazing, Aiden. Absolutely amazing. You said that, first of all, are there any school board members that you would consider be friendly to you, to what you're doing?
Not exactly. There was an instance when we testified before the school board back in December. We gave our speech and they cut us off because we had a 3-minute time period, even though there was nobody there to speak. They cut us off, and there was one of the board members whose name I won't list out of respect for him. But one of the board members said, "Excuse me, Mr. Haggard," and then you couldn't see it on the television because it didn't switch right away. But the president of the school board said with her eyes, "You will not answer that question." You could see it in her eyes. But and then he said, "Never mind." But there are about maybe one member on that school board that is we could consider a friend of ours to our cause. But once again, our school board is extremely liberal, which doesn't make sense to me. Truly, you know, Medina County of Ohio is where I'm from. It's about a little bit less than an hour south of Cleveland. We are one of the most Republican towns you could find. Last election cycle, 2022, not a single Republican or not a single Democrat got a majority in our county. But for some reason, our school board is extremely liberal in both its thinking and the people who represent it. So one thing that I would always give is a call to action. And my call to action is saying, run for your school boards. Your school boards are quite literally deciding the future of our country. You know, it may not be as glamorous as maybe the state legislature or Congress or the White House, but it is the backbone upon which our nation must be fixed. The school boards will teach your students, and thus the future of this country, what is right and what is wrong, whether or not 2 + 2 = 4 or whether or not 2 + 2 = 5. You know, we want to make sure we have common sense conservatives inside of our school boards. And that is my call to action to everyone who's watching and everybody who is possibly listening to this, is to ensure that your school boards are where you're paying attention to. And even if you don't want to run, pay attention, help school board campaigns. These are the backbones, and this we must be determined to do.
You want to speak, Mr. Anderson?
I just want to say that you just gave us a wonderful clip or a plug for what we're trying to promote, which is getting the local involvement and the community involved with what's going on. It's amazing what you said. You're in a Republican community and you have a liberal school board.
Yeah.
Who can figure that out?
Let me figure it out for you.
Okay.
Schools are run by unions.
Oh, yeah. It was good old unions.
Yeah.
You see what's going on here, gentlemen? This really ties back to the whole first hour as well. It's those with the political power. You know, when our side gets political power, we try to distribute it fairly amongst everyone. When their side gets political power, they use it as a bludgeon to silence you, to censor you, to not even let you conduct a club in your school, right? To not, you know, to punish you for January 6th with ridiculous sentences for crimes of trespassing, you know, 4 years for trespassing. The other side is using their power as a bludgeon on us when they get it. So as Aiden says, it's imperative for us to take over the power. We have to win these seats, because if we leave these kind of people in power, they're just going to use it to try to destroy us in our way of life.
Bulldozers. Well, Aiden, if I were teaching again, boy, I would be excited to have a student like you in the midst. I would be working hard with you as a teacher and your club. It would be so inspiring.
Yeah.
I kind of left teaching with my head down because I felt like there was no way that I would be able to change things from within. I went into education with high hopes of being able to turn things around. Maybe I didn't have the energy you have. I don't know, but I felt kind of sad as I left education behind and thought it was going downhill, and it has.
It truly is. And going back to the people with the political power silencing us, I partially don't blame the schools to a certain extent. If I were in the school's position and I was a conservative or even a liberal school and I wanted to keep it liberal, I would realize that for the schools, it's easier to attack an individual rather than his beliefs. The school will rather than attacking and arguing against our arguments, they believe that it is easier to just shut down the entire argument altogether. It is easier to never host political discussion than to defend yours. And that's what I almost foresee many individuals, both at the school board and even as high as the White House, they are knowing that it's easier to shut everything down, not argue your side and listen to their side, than it is to actually just listen to what everybody has to say. So yes, they are most certainly trying to silence those people who have an opinion.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
This is an intelligent young man we're talking to, gentlemen. I can't believe it at this age. He reminds me actually of a young Rush Limbaugh. I don't know if you ever listened to Rush or not, Aiden.
Yeah.
But you're very articulate, you're very well spoken, very convincing in your arguments, and it's a pleasure and joy to know that there's somebody of your young age that is already this mature in their understanding and the confidence you have in your beliefs. You're talking to a guy. I'm a 62-year-old man. I spent 36 years working in and with the United States Air Force, 20 years as retired as an Air Force major. Then I spent 16 years working as a defense contractor, all because I love my country, because I believed when I was going to school and your age, I believed in all those things, that we are a great country. We're founded upon a great principle of religious freedom, individual liberty. Those are our highest guiding core principles, not safety and security and shutting down half of the argument because you disagree with it and trying to, malign those people instead of actually, like you say, discussing the actual pros and cons of an issue. So it's just so refreshing that people like you exist. And in spite of all the indoctrination I'm sure you've been bombarded with over the years, and you still have the conviction that you have of your principles. So good on you, Aiden.
Yes, thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the many individuals who kind of got me to where I am today.
Starting with your parents.
Yes, my parents. I am so thankful to have the family that I have today. I have two brothers and my mother and my father. There are times when I don't like that they'll punish me and what have you. I'm not a big fan of that, but I understand that there's a reason behind it. It reminds me of the clip from Full Metal Jacket. It's the drill instructor saying, "You will not like me, but through that hatred of me, you will learn." It's a similar concept with my parents. I'm thankful to have a family who knows to be strict when they have to, but also gives me the freedoms that I also need. So my family, I'm so thankful for. I'm thankful to have a heavenly family, a God-fearing family in the eyes of the Lord. And I believe that the Lord is watching over me. I've never been led astray by him. Forever will I seek him for guidance. And as well as many other people in our community, people in our local Republican Party, candidates and elected officials in our parties, as well as my speech and debate team members and captains. I wouldn't be so articulate today if it wasn't for my speech teacher and my debate teacher, and I have all these people, and I'm so thankful for the way that the good Lord chose to align my life and the people that he put in my life. I'm so thankful for everything that I have. And I will never be unthankful for what I have. Forever will I be praising his name for the glorious ways that he's taken me.
Tom, I know you're going to make a comment, but I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to take a break. We're talking with Rush Limbaugh Jr. I'm sorry. We're talking with Aiden Haggard. our just an incredible young man. When we come back, your future. Where do you see yourself 10, 15, 20 years down the road? I'm an ex-headhunter, Aiden. So that's the question I always ask. Where do you see yourself down the road? B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
And we are back, having seemingly been stopped at every step of the way. Our guest today, Aiden Haggard, and his organization preserved and expanded by getting more students interested in what they were doing while actually aiding politicians at times along the way. And today, the American Conservative Youth Union continue to educate themselves on the ideals of conservatism and the world of politics. Aiden, you mentioned you're assisting politicians. What did that look like? You don't have to mention names, but what did that look like?
Yeah, we were pitching our idea to our local party, our local Republican Party, and another person was in our office that we ended up helping a tremendous amount for. But another person was in the office at the time, and he heard our pitch, and he said to me, "Son, you're going to do well in politics, and I want to make sure that I have you on my side." So he took me as an individual apart from the organization and away from it, but me as an individual, he took me alongside his candidacy, and I won't name who it is. Once again, I have respect for him. But he and I single-handedly took out a 29-year incumbent who was a Democrat from our county auditor's seat. He was in there 29 years, and we got him out. And, it was a difficult fight, Everybody knew his name. His name was on the gasoline pumps, delicatessen scales, your cash registers. But he and I fought together, and we knew for a fact that we could get him. And, well, when election night came, we got him. So it was through that we also started to get into other situations where we could help politicians. Judges were coming to me asking for help with websites and getting stuff set up. A lot of these politicians are in their rarely are they in their 40s. Most of them are in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They're all getting a lot older, which means they're not the best well-versed with certain modern technology. So I made sure that I would make myself a resource to them and a resource to their campaigns to ensure that good Republican candidates are being put in office. And so that was a big part of me learning not only civics, but also the political side of being in office, how to run for office, what works and what doesn't, what colors work. It's the small things in life that add up to this grand and glorious picture. Whenever you're painting, it may look like a small wish of the brush, but you are creating a grand picture when it all comes together and you step away and you see what you've created.
You're amazing. You know what? You might be embarrassing I hope you are embarrassing some of our audience. Okay. I really do. This is Do Radio. We're trying to get people to engage the culture. And look at this. You're not even out of high school yet. And look what you're doing. And by the way, you didn't come out of the womb like you are right now. This hasn't been all easy for you. I know that. But you've learned from it, and you've kept persistent at it. I think about the illegal aliens, and that's what they are, the illegal aliens that are coming into the United States, and what we're doing to them. It used to be an immigrant would come in and they'd have to work their way from the bottom up to the top. Now we're putting them up in hotels, we're feeding them, we're giving them health care, and we've already raised their expectancy level. They're going to be able to vote if they're not already. They're going to be able to vote. They're going to be able to participate in society, and they're going to have the state daddy take care of them. Oh, isn't that wonderful? And then they run across somebody like you. Hey, by the way, where are you headed 2, 5, 10, 15 years down the road? Where do you see yourself?
Well, a big part of me wants to go to college. I'd like to stay in the state of Ohio, preferably in the Tri-County area that I am now. But I want to go to college in order to get a dual major in the classics, which is Latin and Greek and the study thereof, and political science. At which point, after that, I hope to obtain a Juris Doctorate in constitutional law and theory. But I also want to try to manage through this through college the ability to run for school board. I've unfortunately finding common sense conservative candidates it's very difficult to find them and put them on the school board because it's a lot of work for not a lot of power and not a lot of money, even though they yield a lot of power. So I hopefully wish to run for school board in 2025. And I think that we're going to have a good amount of help because our party chairman, Mr. Renacci, started a Save Our Schools Ohio political action committee, which focuses on putting common sense conservatives into school boards. So I hope through college I can manage that. But one thing that's definitely changed through the last couple of years is what I want to do after college. See, when I went to Washington, D.C. in my 8th grade for our Washington, D.C. trip, I said, I want to go straight into the U.S. Capitol when I turn 25. And as much as I would like to, there was a man by the name of Jonas Schultz, a Republican, who was running for office, running for the primary for the 7th District of Ohio for the federal legislature. And he didn't win. You know, he was a bright guy. He might have made a good legislature, but the problem is that his name wasn't known. So for that reason, I kind of had to humble myself. I realized that I couldn't just go straight to Washington, but so I'm going to probably run for the state legislature after I get out of college and also start a legal practice in order to kind of get me ahead of where I need to go, and then eventually make my way up there, possibly to the White House. You know, it's a long ways away, but I want to get there someday.
I see. You're aiming rather high there, Aiden. I don't know. No, please, I'm
yeah.
You got to aim as high as you possibly can. Okay, that's the way you start out, and work as hard as you possibly can, and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself because you're going to be challenged. It's like in the Garden of Eden. Satan, did God? Are you? Satan loves to question. He loves to question. And that stops you. It gets you back on your heels, or it hesitates you. And your confirmation, your search for the truth. And you've probably always been right, Aiden?
No, there has been times along our struggles where I have been wrong. You know, I've had to humble myself, but once again, you know, we learn through these mistakes, but also more importantly, I think it's important that we also learn from the mistakes of others. It reminds me of this quote, the fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So we are trying to, through this organization, through the fight and cause that we've found, we are trying to learn to be our better selves. And that almost brings me to the fact that what happens if all of this fails? The entire organization comes crumbling down. We don't get to meet in the high school. What happens? Well, here's what happens. Even if we all fail, I know for a fact that the members of our organization and the staff that help me run it, they have been taught important life principles such as accountability, being able to be held to high standards, going above and beyond. You know, they sound cliche, but they are extremely difficult to teach except through actions. So even if all else fails, I know for a fact that I trained my staff, and more importantly, my friends, I trained them to be good citizens, to love your God and to love your country and to love your family. I trained them to be accountable and responsible. And I hope that hopefully we don't fail. You know, I hope that we move forward in our cause and in our organizations. But in the unlikely incidents that we do fail, I know at least we didn't fail all 100%. We still succeeded in training students, whether it only be 10 or 100 million. We trained individuals to be better citizens and to be accountable.
The greatest error is the error of omission. It's what you didn't try. And I'm sure you have things that you look back on and you're going, gosh, I should have done this. But you know what grade are you in? You're a junior?
Yes, sir.
Is that in college?
High school.
High school. Okay.
You know, BJ, what impresses me is at that age, most of the teenagers are worried about peer pressure. They're worried about, you know, what am I thought about by the other kids in school. I have a question for you, Aiden. How are the different groups at school? The jocks, you know, the cool kids, the rich kids, the poor kids, the minority kids. How are the different various groups and cliques at school receiving your presence and your message?
They enjoy it, you know. Obviously, we have certain organizations that and certain cliques that obviously would disagree with us, whether it be liberals, members of the LGBTQ community. But for the most part, and I'd probably argue maybe 80% of our school goes along with our message. You know, they might not be willing to link arms with me and to march forward with our fight, but they're at least willing to wear a pin on their shirt, to put a sticker on their laptop or their notebook, you know. So we have a good response from our students at our high school, and also a good amount of teachers too, you know. I always want to make sure that the teachers are never put in a spot where they have to lose their job because of helping us. But I always make sure to know that these people are allies. These people are the ones who are willing to fight with us if the need should arise. And so we have a good response from our people, all the cliques, jocks, the nerds, the dorks, any kind of clique you could put to it. 9 out of 10, they're going to support us because we are common sense conservatives. We're not spewing lies. We're not lying to them. We're telling the truth. The good Lord says, then you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You know, we are free from the lies that the Democrats and the liberals thrust upon us. You know, we are free from all of this gibberish that we are taught in our schools. I tell them my honest opinion, and I make sure that they know it's an opinion. But I also tell them the facts, and I make sure they know it's a fact. You know, these people, they seek purpose in their life, and they often seek a cause to fight for. And I make sure that if they go along with our side, they're never led astray. So when they're wearing a pin saying, I support the American Conservative Youth Union, they know for a fact that they're supporting a cause that is worthy, that is deemed proper, prim and proper. You know, these individuals in our high schools, they're alongside us. You know, they're not going to do everything for us, but they're alongside us.
Thanks,
Good
Tom.
to hear.
You mentioned this God person a lot, and this maybe some biblical quotes or two. Talk to us about your pastor or your religious teachers in your life.
I am so thankful that my both direct family and my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, have always raised me in a biblical home. I every single Sunday. I come from Kentucky. That's where I was until I moved up here in the 6th grade to do my father's job. Every single Sunday, with rare exceptions, we would be going to church. We would be singing the praises to the good Lord himself. And it's not because just for the sake of being seen at church. It's because I know that the good Lord himself has never led me astray. He will always lead me on the path of righteousness, and he will lead me forward. I may not always like what he has to say to me. I may want to do something that goes against him, but I know that I will always walk in his steps because he is the one who could lead me forward and never lead me astray. So when I speak of this, when I speak of God, you know, I speak of guidance. I speak of a light in the darkness. I speak of someone who can help my cause. I do this cause not only to fight for America, but to fight for the good Lord himself. The Battle Hymn of the Republic is a good quote. As Jesus died to make men holy, may we die to make men free. I want to make sure that, you know, so many politicians, they remove the good Lord from their job. Now, obviously, there needs to be a certain separation, but it's also important that, you know, our Christians are being put into these offices, because I believe that if we were to follow the good Lord's teachings, and if we were to listen to what the good Lord has to say, so many of our problems in our society would go away. You know, if we were to listen to what he has to say about having a proper family, you know, a mother and a father, being married and then having children, you know, all of the problems that we have in our society would be going away, at least a good majority of them. So teachers, you know, I had obviously Sunday school teachers, but I think the most influential would be my great aunt B, my grandmother, my mother, my father, you know, my pastors, and also my youth group too. I have so many individuals that are telling me of what the good works of the good Lord can do for me. And thankfully, I have always listened to the right person, and that is the good Lord himself. You know, even the best mentor can sometimes lead you astray, but I know that the good Lord never will. So I'm thankful that I have people who have taught me of the good Lord, and I'm thankful of my parents who brought me to church every Sunday, who celebrated all religious holidays, Easter, Christmas, and everything else. You know, I'm thankful of the way that I was raised, because I know that because of the way that my parents raised me, I know that I will be fighting a fight of the Lord. And I know that I will always have the Lord by my side. And even if sometimes I look away from him, I know that he is always going to be there for me. And I know that I will stay there with him step by step in our march for freedom in our country. And I know that if I listen to him, he will never tell me wrong.
when we get done with this, we're going to send you a link. And I'm not sure we're going to be done with this. Can you spend a couple, 3 more hours with us, Aiden?
I'd love to. Yes.
You're just an amazing young man and an encouragement. I want to ask you if what kind of an effect has your presence in that school, and I'm going to talk from a Christian standpoint, has that had on other fellow students? Have you noticed, somebody come up to you and say, you know what, you're a little different. Talk to me. Has anything like that happened? And by the way, if we send a clip of this to Hillsdale College, you're probably going to be hearing from them because would be an ideal student for somebody like Hillsdale. I know that's not in Ohio, but Michigan can use the help more than we can. Trust me. Anyway, talk to me about hey, Mr. Anderson. The ex-teacher is from Michigan, so he's got 2 strikes against him already.
If you live in Ohio.
If and anyway,
Indiana wants me.
Your ability to share the love, the truth, and hope of Jesus Christ with fellow classmates expanded.
Oh yes, through our organizations, people started to know me as the high schooler that fought against this school, the high schooler that is fighting against this school. So people would come up to me not just about conservatism, not just about, hey, why is communism so bad? Why is socialism so bad? They come up to me for other things, seeking answers to something. And I don't know the answers to everything, but I know who does, and that's the good Lord. So I would always say, I don't know the answer to this, but have you ever thought about reading the Bible? What the good Lord has to say. I would always make sure that they always get the most factual information and the most best guidance. So when I couldn't answer their questions, I would always make sure that I gave them to the good Lord himself. So these students are sometimes coming up to me for questions, whether it be about a government class project, if they're asking about what's the difference between this amendment and that amendment, they're going up to me asking questions about not just government, not just conservative movements, about ideologies. They're also coming up to asking about other things. So I'm hoping that through the way that I hopefully lead them to the good Lord, we could possibly have more people following the good Lord's guidance, because I know that he has never led me astray, so he certainly wouldn't lead anybody else astray. So yes, people do, they ask questions, and I'm always happy to answer them and lead them to the best way, and that is to the good Lord.
But Aiden, your path is not going to be an easy path because you choose to follow Christ. It's a difficult path sometimes. You're a man of conviction. I admire that. But there's going to be people out there that are going to close doors to you because of your religious views. They're going to close doors to you because of your political views. A couple of years ago, as BJ and Mr. Anderson know, I lost my $165,000 a year defense contractor job at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base because I chose to stay with my conviction and refuse to get the COVID-19 jab. That cost me my job, but I don't regret it for 1 second because I have my integrity. I kept my conviction. I can still look myself in the mirror and like what I see. So I encourage you to do the same. You're gonna have struggles in the future, battles you'll come up against just because of who you are, and you're going to have to rely on that faith in God and that trust in yourself to keep your conviction, to keep your integrity, and do what's right.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, there are people, friendships, relationships that I've lost with individuals because of my beliefs, especially about how out expressing I am about my stance on abortion. I believe in the importance of life. The good Lord created every single one of us for a purpose, and to kill an individual because of an inconvenience or for any other reason is unacceptable. Truly, we must realize that the good Lord gives value and purpose in life to every single individual, whether it be in the womb of a mother or whether it be 100 years old. Each one of us has a purpose, a story, and a calling. And so because I believe that we shouldn't be killing children. I believe that we shouldn't believe certain ideologies. We shouldn't discriminate against people. Because I believe this stuff, I have lost friendships. I've lost relationships. But truly, it doesn't really matter, because I know that even if I lose everything, my physical properties and the people around me, even if I'm in the darkest of times, I know that the good Lord is there for me. So even if I'm by myself, even if in no sense of my life there is anything that I own, I know that I will always have my connection with the good Lord. And even if I lose everything, I know that he will help me, give me what is necessary. He will always be there for me. Never, ever, ever will I ever be hungry, will I ever be thirsty, because I will always have the body and blood of Jesus Christ himself. And it is because of that that I realize it's okay to lose people because they don't agree with me. Obviously, I'm not trying to purposely lose friendships and purposely lose relationships, but I know when to cut ties, when it becomes interfering with my mission, or when it comes interfering with my religion, my relationship with God. I know it's important to cut ties. So definitely there is always going to be someone stopping me, but maybe that's a reason. If there is someone stopping you, there's a reason why. Going back to the incident with the school, there was a meeting we had with our superintendent, and he said, quote, "You should probably stop looking into law." And I knew for that reason, I'm going to start looking into some more law, So if there's somebody stopping you, there's a reason on why. So never lose your purpose, never lose your passion, and never lose your calling, because the good Lord gave it to you for a reason, and I think you should keep it.
Well, we can't keep you for
Amen to
another.
that.
Yeah.
How do you follow that, BJ?
I was going to
He
say,
knows his own soul, doesn't he?
we can't keep you for 2 hours. We're going to have to cut this off right now because it isn't going to get any better. Adrian, real quick, your organization, American Conservative Youth Union, how does somebody get into that? Who should get into that? Where did you start, real quickly, number-wise, and where are you now number-wise, if that means anything?
Yeah. Number-wise, we started with three of us, myself, our then treasurer, Keegan Linden, and our clerk, Angat Chabra. It was three of us back in 8th grade. Now we have a staff of 10, and each and every one of them are so dear in the heart of the organization. They all give us purpose and cause. And now we're working slowly but surely on creating what we call the Minutemen program. Individuals around different parts of different states who would almost be a field rep for the organization to an extent. And we have individuals like that. We're setting that up. We're working with getting high schools to have conservative youth organizations around our county, but also in other states as well. Slowly but surely, we are mobilizing and getting more individuals. Also, along the lines of that, we are also ensuring that even though people who are not near us, who I can't physically hand a button to, a pin to, a poster to, they can still get it in the mail. But a big way to get in contact with us is by our website. Go to theacyu.com, theacyu.com, and you can see all of our information. You can see photos about us. You can see what we're about. You can see what we stand for and all the information. Also, feel free to contact us. Our emails is president@theacyu.com, as well as if you want to send us mail, please mail us at P.O. Box 65, Chippewa Lake, Ohio 44215. Send us mail, send us letters. If you have an opportunity you want to give to us, I promise you we will take you up on that opportunity. The worst thing an individual can do when confronted with an opportunity is to say no to it. I would not be on this broadcast here today if I did not say yes to the opportunities that was given to me. So I would say if you have an opportunity for us, please reach out to us. You can find all of our information at theacyu or theacyu.com. You can find all of our information about how to contact us. You can sign in some forms if you're a student. I would encourage you, know your responsibilities to our country. Know that you should make sure that you have a calling. And I would say for that reason, join us in our fight. You may be all the way on the other side of the United States, on the Western seaboard. We're here in Ohio, but you may be in California, the godforsaken land of California, or Illinois, or Texas, or Alaska. But we have a purpose that we could give to you. So I would always encourage you to reach out to us. Give us a call or a text, 330-907-0051. Once again, that's 330-907-0051. Give us a call. Give us a text. Reach out to us any way that you can. If you have a pigeon that you want to carry a message to, we can also do that too. But I would encourage you, if you have any questions, reach out to us. If you need a purpose, reach out to us. If you want to join, reach out to us. The worst thing you could do is just completely forget to reach out to us. Because if you have a reason that you want us to look at, if you have a cause or a specific thing that you are trying to get help with, we can help with. So I would encourage you, contact us any way you can so that we can help you and so that you can help us. So hopefully together we can make a better America. And hopefully together we can also make an America where you and I, although we may disagree, can learn to have a civil discussion about what is right and what is wrong. And so that I would say, reach out to us.
I'm going to be sending this link to a lot of folks and a lot of folks who are dealing with public schools. And you just sparked an idea, Aiden, as they need. I mean, we're trying as parents, as community, trying to address school boards, but internally, we can create organizations within those schools, the ACYU, not ACLU, ACYU, why not you, YU, and get the students to get engaged in the culture. In other words, apply pressure from both ends, from internal, external. Great idea. I love the Minutemen United idea. Just incredible, just incredible. And I'm gonna encourage people to contact you. I guess I want to say this basically our last show, folks. Because it's not going to get any better than this. Okay, so why even try to go any further? Just kidding. Aiden, God bless you. Godspeed. Anything you want to leave our audience with?
No, just feel free to reach out to us. And once again, you have a purpose in life. Sorry, you have a calling. So I would always say, if you are ever in times of trouble, reach out to the good Lord, because he's never led me astray and he won't lead you astray. Furthermore, if you ever want to get into a high school, you want to start a conservative youth organization, reach out to us. Once again, one last time, THEACYU, theacyu.com. Reach out to us. Please, you have a calling, you have a purpose. Why don't you serve it with us?
God bless you, Aiden, and Godspeed.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Teacher Anderson, what do you think? Huh? What do you think? Next week.
Yeah, I got to turn on my volume.
It's going to be your turn next week to get a guest, okay?
Go.
Because I'm out of bullets.
You're out of.
Yeah.
No.
Amazing young man.
This young man. I would just encourage him not to be so sold on the indoctrination centers, although he's very aware of those situations.
That's where he is.
That's where he is.
Yeah.
And he's fighting his way out. And I think that this young man, he's ready to go. You know, I mean, he's got his wings and he's ready to fly now. And boy, I would love to see other students pulled out of other schools to get involved with such a thing as this.
Tom, what do you think?
That young man has a lot of charisma, doesn't he? I can see where he could be a really tremendous asset for our side in terms of bringing more people on board and getting them awake as opposed to having them be woke. He's a young man who loves his country. He loves God. He loves his family. He respects our past. He sees a bright future for America as opposed to a future of decay and a future of destruction. And I like his attitude. I love where he wants to take this country. And I love the fact that he wants other people to hop on board with him.
Yep. Pray for him. Pray for his protection, because as he comes along, it's not just us that's going to be noticing him, our adversary. And he's going to throw some stuff in his road. And please pray for him and others like him.
Well, we know we got Myra praying.
Yep, we do. We sure do. Hey, I think we're done. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate everybody's participation today. Pray for those J6ers, folks, and try to do something for them. You can support them. You can pray for them, yes, but get engaged. If that's your thing, if that when you see the injustice there, if you see a need, that's your calling. Got to run. B.J. Edwards along, Mr. Anderson. This has been your last call.
Yeah. A little slow on the controls today.
Join us next week for Last Call with B.J. Edwards.